And it is Faith Time, our weekly conversation on matters of faith. And joining us this morning is Bryant Pugh with Outbreak Christian Ministries in Mobile. Thank you for joining us this morning, sir.
I'm thankful to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right, well, what we wanted to talk about this morning was the fact that this is the Sunday that some churches would be discussing Jesus' baptism. So kind of give us the rundown of what that Bible story is.
Really, the setting of the story opens up with a man named John the Baptist. He's out, he's proclaiming the name of the Lord. He's calling people to repentance for the remission of their sins. And in the setting, he's baptizing people as for their sins. And he begins to tell them, you know, in other words, if you think I'm doing something, there's one coming after me that I'm not even worthy to hold his shoes. And it's about this time that we see Jesus come up and wanting to be baptized by John.
What do you think is the significance of Jesus going and asking to be baptized?
Really, if we follow along with that story, we'll find that when Jesus approached him about being baptized, you know, he just said, look, I'm not even worthy to hold this man's shoes. But Jesus tells him, he says, I need to be baptized so that I can fulfill all righteousness. So I think the significance we need to take from this is understanding that although we may have a call on our life, it's still important to do certain things to fulfill all righteousness through Christ.
And for Christians, why do you think baptism is important?
I think baptism is important because it's a time where we can really publicly declare our faith in Jesus. There's nothing more special than having that moment where you can step up to the public and really proclaim the name of Jesus.
Now, in some churches, children are baptized shortly after birth or as children, others later in life. What do you say makes the baptism of somebody who is grown either into adolescence or adulthood different from somebody who's baptized, you know, as an infant?
Really, if you really, in my own opinion, there are two different baptisms because as a child, the reason we baptize children is as a symbol to give the child that God has given us back to present him back to the Lord. But if you think about it, at that time, a child really doesn't have the knowledge of who Christ is. So I think it still is important after coming into the full knowledge of who Christ is and who Christ is in you, that you are baptized also to proclaim that faith in Jesus.
What is it that you like about baptism?
What I really like about baptism, outside of the fact that it's a public declaration of your faith, is really a special moment. A lot of people that ask me that type of question, I kind of pair it with being in a new relationship. You know, when you first fall in love, it does your heart great joy to be able to share that with other people, and really that's the significance of it to me.
When baptism ceremonies are done, generally it's done with witnesses who also commit to raising this child or this person in the faith. Why is that important to have other people for that ceremony?
I think that's important because in a time where you're presenting, and if I'm correct, you're talking about as a child.
Yeah.
At that time, you're presenting that child back to God. I think it's important to have that support system to understand not only are we presenting this child back to God, but we're also standing with this child and saying that we're going to be here and help guide them along that way.
A powerful right in Christianity. Thank you for joining us. Bryant Pugh with Outbreak Christian Ministries, and News 5 this morning will continue after the break.